Welcome back to this best of 5 series where Giants are 1-0 up against Wind and Rain. Wind and Rain this time have the red side. Interestingly, they chose to have the red side, whereas Giants chose blue. So is there something that Wind and Rain know that we don't stress?
Get a winning matchup. That's what I think they know. Ironically, Wind and Rain not successful in game 1. I guess it's not that ironic. It's 30
No, I just realized why it's ironic. They had Janna, they had like the Queen of Wind, and they weren't able to win. Oh.
Maybe they should have picked Forecast
How did I
Janna.
miss that pun?
Maybe they should have picked Forecast Janna and they would have seen the forecast coming.
It's true. Forecast was bleak for them in game 1. Game 2, however, they will have to change things up just a little bit as we see them come back on towards the stage. Their coach, Tabasco, of course, the player for Kingwin for a very long time, was actually playing with them for last Challenger series.
Yeah. That was the team that Woolite was on as well.
Yeah.
Lots of Polish pride on the former Team Kingwin lineup. But of course, here is Giants Wind and Rain. The lineup's doing battle. Giants 1 game up because they got a decent draft and then played it out quite well in lane. Only really one mistake coming through from Giants. So we need to see whether the same happens again or whether Wind and Rain can actually exploit some of these lanes a little bit more, because jizuke looked all too comfortable in the middle lane. And
that's kind of the matchup I really want to see Larssen step up in. He's known as a player who can out-mechanic his lane opponent, who can make these big flashy plays in the mid lane that really help snowball a lead. And on something like a Vladimir or on a Cassiopeia, he's just resigned to this scaling idea into jizuke, who's very willing to play Orianna or Syndra and just stand back and play very safe.
Yeah, I want to see... I mean, the Orianna was banned away, as we're talking about, and I want to see Wind and Rain maybe pick that up a little earlier. The problem with that draft to me is when you go Maokai, Sejuani, Janna, like, there's no strength there.
Yeah.
You've not got an S tier really in anything. Like, Maokai is great. Maokai is a great champion, but in a losing matchup against Na, he therefore is behind and can't do enough on his own. I want to see a winning draft come out from Wind and Rain.
You want to see some aggression. You want to see some lane-pushing potential from Wind and Rain. It's going to be the Tristana ban once again from Giants. Kalista taken away by Wind and Rain. Looks like it's pretty much the same thus far. We have seen teams in the past say, okay, we'll just go with the same draft once again, and this time we will play it better, and this time we will outmaneuver you. And that seems to be what's happening. Okay, maybe the Thresh is going to be let through, and Wind and Rain can pick that up on their first rotation. I wouldn't even mind seeing the likes of a Tahm Kench come through for AOD later on in this draft, depending on how the rest of it goes. Try and punish that side lane. Ruin was pushing up so heavily in that last game that if Ruin does as Ruin always does, pushing, you can catch him out on that side lane with a Tahm Kench. Giants sticking to the script they wrote before today, banning out the Cho'Gath, and it will be Thresh. So once again, we're looking at Zach, we're looking at Elise, we're looking at Sejuani, and saying, where do you want to go with your jungle pool? No reason to change it up from the Zach here, as Gilius had a fantastic game on it. We're talking about the early game, wanting to see more from him, obviously in the tank meta. Has to wait a little bit to get into those lanes. And it's an immediate Kog'Maw Rek'sai here for Wind and Rain. That's a little bit spicier from them, and that shows us some damage as well, Stress. You said you wanted to see damage. Well, late game, I can't think of an AD carry that damages more than a Kog. And Kog'Maw comes on earlier in the game as well. Rek'Sai will have good early game presence, good clear early, can get into the lanes before the Zac can, quite comfortably. So now we have to see where Giants go. Toying with our hearts a little bit was Gilius. You could see him typing on the screen. I'm never, like, whenever someone's hovered and then they're frantically typing, I know that's not what they want to pick. Will be the Braum instead for Giants, something Jactroll has been very comfortable on across the course of the split. Yeah, good disengage, good ability to control team fights as well. Will it be the mid lane Syndra coming out here from jizuke? It was a fantastic setup for him in the previous game. Also, AD carry if they don't want it to get pinched. I don't think they really mind minitroupax getting pinched too much. He's got Caitlyn, he can play a mean Jhin as well. We saw that even in the highlight clips. I'm sure he's comfortable on Ashe as well, and although he's been a carry for them throughout the split, with his high KDA not being killed in the first 3 weeks, he hasn't always been the member they needed to step up. Usually he sits at the back, gets the kills where he can, but is very comfortable just damaging from range. This would be a change around, and they do change it around. I'm just not going to talk about their picks until they actually get locked in at this point. So Janna again for AOD in the bottom lane. On hit, Kog'Maw with Sensor Janna. You also now extra damage. Diamond 5 builds, lads, let's go. It's coming through again. But I really like the Janna into the Zac as well, because it does give you that disengage. If the Zac jumps in, you can monsoon him away. Wind and Rain didn't really utilize that as well as they could have done in the first game.
Right, there was a lot of fights that were executed a little bit more poorly. Didn't really see that Janna emphasis come through, and it's actually difficult on a Janna at that point when the rest of the team is losing catastrophically. You might be able to just like monsoon the Zac away, but apart from that, everybody else just dies. You don't deny the fight that successfully that it's over.
It's going to be a Gnar and a Poppy ban from Wind and Rain. They're focusing up towards the top side. Giants get rid of the LeBlanc. And I'm wondering if we'll see a Jarvan perhaps here from Armin, because both Gnar and Poppy work well into them. Yeah,
Jarvan is one of the more successful blind picks you can take through here. Good for engaging as well, good for team fights. That Poppy, I'm glad you mentioned it about being, you know, a pick into Jarvan. Poppy's a champion we might see a little bit more as we get through this current meta on 7.14 and 7.15. She's been a bit of a sleeper OP for a while, but
it's one of those things where we see a champion fall out of meta because of a slight nerf, and then everything around the whole scene and the whole meta changes slightly, and then it comes back into favor because people realize it's strong because of how the meta's suiting them at the moment. It is a Syndra pick for Wind and Rain, and Giants will get the Jarvan for themselves. Last pick counter is up for Wind and Rain towards the top side here.
Yeah. Jarvan doesn't have too many countered matchups still available. It might see a Rumble come out from Wind and Rain, but that would be a very different setup. So Kalista, Caitlyn, by the way, Jhin would be the remaining AD carry out of minitroupax. Ooh, we're seeing full team fighting, okay. Miss Fortune from the AD carry role here. Obviously a lethality user, very good. And oh, look at that, Wind and Rain don't have any full tanks yet.
So you have to go tank. And something we saw Armin play a lot when he was in the Challenger Series qualifier tournament on Team Larssen in the spring tournament was this Shen. He's comfortable on it. However, every time this happens, and Wind and Rain do it a lot, they get that last counter pick for the top lane, and they end up just picking something that's safe.
Right. We've seen teams doing this in the LCS as well. So as historically, or at least recent history in Rift Rivals, was saying how Shen, he doesn't want to have to play it because he can't have impact on the game. It is a safe pick. It's very good for protecting the likes of Woolite here on this Kog'maw. You get that Stand United down, but not exactly the easiest setup here when you look at it. You've got to play into a full team fighting composition that could end the team fight before that Shen ultimate even gets cast.
Some interesting picks coming out from Giants as well, specifically that Miss Fortune, the only one that seems to be away from the norm for them. They have played Jhin in the past, but minitroupax, this will be his first game on MF this split. And as we get into the game, I want to talk a lot more about how that lane matchup goes, specifically Stress, because it is an interesting one to have to break down with the Kog'Maw into the Miss Fortune. But for the moment, make sure you guys jump on Twitter and vote at LOL Esports. If you think Giants will go 2-0 up and be one game away from the LCS promotion tournament, it's hashtag GIA win. You think War can blow away the opposition, hashtag WAR win. And we are going to get onto the Summoner's Rift. Stress, and let's break down some bot lane matchups as we do.
I know Vedius is already probably tweeting.
It's like, oh, I called this, guys. I called everything, guys. You can't just say something as a joke and then be like, I called it.
No, he didn't say it as a joke. He put it in a video.
That's true.
So
he did
for
put
his
it in
credit,
to watch.
He did. Okay, Miss Fortune, 80 carry. Always has a good harass pattern in the lane. When you look at that double up damage that comes through, always has good armor shred on the ultimate. You end up shredding so much of that. Lethality buffs is what really makes Miss Fortune quite strong. You can get that Dusk Blade, you can just delete people, and then when it comes to team fighting, you just shred through all of their armor and everybody dies. Unfortunately now, there is a little bit more armor that's going to come through from Aaron and Dan. Of course, Rek'Sai kind of fulfills that half-tank role, so still some resistances to shred through, but I'm looking forward to seeing this lane pattern come through from minitroupax, and of course, you can go longsword 3 pots when you start as a lethality user. So extra sustain, defensive capability from the Braum, and you've got a decent amount of damage in the lane.
Scales up pretty well as well, because you're not getting a starting item. You're getting part of an item that will build later on into that serrated Dirk, into that Corefield's Warhammer. Giants have looked so strong across this split that it's easy to remember their glory days of summer 2016 when they made it into quarterfinals with Maxlaw and Smithy J and Knight and Hustlin and Sonstar beaten by Unicorns of Love there. They will be yearning to get back to the LCS and to get back to those glory days. And at the moment, they are on track to do that as they are 1-0 up in this best of 5.
Yep, good situation for Giants to be in. We see Gilius getting some help on that red and then heading over to Raptors. You're going to have to watch his progress early on. Because he had a lot of impact. It was Dan that picked up the first blood, but then Gilius is like, okay, I'm Zach. I can get into lanes quite easily now.
Another interesting stat for you, by the way, Stress, talking about first bloods. Both Wind and Rain and Giants, until the last game, had a 100% win record when they got either first tower or first blood. So we can use that as an indicator here as to who will win. Giants got first tower, they got first blood. Oh no, they didn't get first blood, they lost it to War, so War lost their streak. But Giants did get first tower. So they now have a 100% win record still. Their first tower in the game.
The streak is over. The most important streak in history is done.
Actually, I think that's Cloud Drakes in the LCS. Okay. NIP have yet to pick up a Cloud Drake.
Oh, well, Dan, we're going to pick up first blood again.
Once again, Ruin may have overextended slightly here. Flashes away, but the knockup comes down, and Dan and Armin will get first blood in the top lane.
Okay, it's a little bit earlier than the previous game, but you can see how quickly Dan cleared through his top side, ended up in the lane before Gilius could react. Gilius only just then focusing on the Rift Scuttler gets first blood, same as in the previous game, getting that top lane focus. But look, Gilius now heading top, looking to try and equalize it themselves. There is no ward here. It might just be a vision control game here out of Gilius. Place the ward, back himself away.
Tank junglers come for the gank, place wards and leave. There's a big minion wave there as well, so Armin wouldn't want to go aggressive.
Dan, on the other hand, he's like, I'm not just playing a tank. No. I'm going to go in, burrow underground, upside down face, get the knock-up. Easy kill here.
That's exactly how we did it.
As Dan gets through, forces the flash knock-up, easy kill onto Ruin. Ruin's still level 2, so no way of Ruin getting out of there alive.
Can't escape the queen of the Rek'sai. Dan very happy with himself, smiling on the LCS stage, looking for that LCS spot. War with a 600 gold advantage so quickly in this game.
And it was a good punish on the fact that Ruin had actually taken his W first. Now, this is something you do if you want to play a little bit more defensively in the lane. You either take Q and just push the lane and try and just get as much of the minion wave under the enemy tower, or you take W and then you don't push the lane. Unfortunately for Ruin, he was stood forward in the lane with W, no EQ combo, couldn't get himself out because he was only level 2.
Larssen once again seems to be outmatched in the mid lane, has burned through both of his pots already, while jizuke has not used a single one. jizuke going for that Thunderlord as well, and Dan looking towards the top lane for a gank once again.
Now, Dan doesn't have his flash available, so if he misses the burrow, if he were to go in here, does back out, that would have been the kind of gank that we've seen go awry from Amazing and kick this once or twice from Mysterious Monkeys. But no, doesn't actually go aggressive. Gilius now looking to try and get some vision control down on the bottom side. Can maybe clear out some of these turret tunnels, but if he does, of course, that would give his position away.
So he knows there's a control ward there now. Yeah,
I was going to say, he just got spotted. Now he knows he got spotted, so now he can go back in.
Woolite and AOD have to play defensive behind this tower. Already a CS lead expanding for minitroupax.
Massive CS lead, and because they've pushed out here, look, it may even be that they want to push and then recall to try and get Serrated Dirk as quickly as possible. Because Serrated Dirk synergizes so incredibly well with Miss Fortune. I'll explain when the Dirk actually gets picked up for the reasons, but that double up is significantly more difficult to deal with.
Larssen's already having to back in mid lane as well. Once again, going for a summoner spell we don't always see on the Syndra. He's gone for heal this game instead of the Ghost or the Barrier or the Ignite.
One reason that you use heal here is as Orianna puts out QW, deals damage, not only to heal it back up. Hang on, Ruin topside. He's in trouble again.
Oh, the knock-up interrupted by Dan, and Armin and Dan will get the second kill of the game for War.
Yeah, nice revisit while there was no flash available. This time, Ruin wasn't under his tower. And Gilius, again, a little bit on the back foot. This is the reason why Wind and Rain took this Rek'sai so early on, picking it up as the first pick. Last little bit about that heal, of course, you get that instant movement speed as opposed to the Ghost, which takes time to ramp up. But let's take a look at the ramp up of aggression in the top lane here. This was Ruin, pushed up away from the tower. Nice taunt from Aaron. Dan comes through, blocks the knockup. And from there, Ruin cannot survive.
Great play once again by War. And we have to remember that Armin is actually a sub, or a player substituted in just for today. Until now, Wind and Rain have been playing with JWoww as their main top laner. Armin coming in today has played with Larssen before on Team Larssen in the Spring Split qualifiers, but were unable to make it through to the Challenger Series on that team. However, on this Shen, he has looked very strong, and his synergy with Dan seems to be on point.
Yeah, for now, though, Wind and Rain are going to have to break through some of this vision line that Giants have established. Our observers were just showing us some of the wards that were placed on the bottom side while the top gank happened out of Dan. Of course, Dan now is level 6. minitroupax has now got that serrated Dirk. So the reason that it is so difficult to deal with a Miss Fortune is serrated Dirk had its passive re-established, where when you kill an enemy, your next spell deals 40 bonus physical damage on that. Well, you pair that with the fact that if you kill a minion with double up, it crits for 200% damage every single time. So you kill a minion, you hit a champion, you get additional damage from both, but mid lane is where the gank is going.
Larssen shockwave back will flash. And once again, we see Larssen the focus for Giants. Gilius is really putting impetus in ganking this mid lane, allowing top lane to fall behind ever so slightly. 15 or so CS, the differential in that top side. However, they're making up for it in bot, as minitroupax still has about a 20 farm lead.
Yeah, and that is only going to get worse and worse here because now they're sat in this bottom lane with this deficit for Wind and Rain. But I like what they've been doing on the rest of the map. You talked about it with Dan going aggressive. Aaron going towards that Titanic Hydra we've seen out of Shen. If you find a squishy target, can easily deal with anybody that doesn't have a whole lot of resistances.
Larssen's in the point now where he just wave clears and walks away because he knows that Gilius can be around. Dan's coming down here, but he'll be spotted out by a ward, and both junglers actually being tracked relatively well by their opposite man. Seems like top side of the map belongs more to War, especially with Armin being ahead, and bottom side with that Mountain Drake is in favor of Giants.
Ooh, we'll see how that holds up, though, as they're looking for mid-exchange. Gilius goes in.
Knockback, Larssen, there's the Stand United as well, and Ruin there will be forced away. Jactroll has to flash, but here comes Woolite. Unbreakable comes down. The heal as well. Dan tries to get in with a Void Rush, but cannot connect.
Oh, watch the damage.
The final bit of damage.
Ruin is here.
Back. Ruin teleported in. There's the shield onto Woolite. Here comes Shen. Here comes the bullet time and the Cataclysm. And Giants get a wombo off to start their kills in game 2.
The bullet time doesn't necessarily do a whole lot of damage in the early game, but it's still, if you channel the full duration through, will do enough. You can see that Giants easily able to take that fight on the bottom side here, waiting for a little bit more on the itemization before they have full impact here. But this is the fight, or the attempted fight on Larssen. The Shen ultimate comes through, but then it was bottom lane the engage came through. Jactroll waiting just long enough, absorbs the ultimate from Dan and gets the exhaust off through, and then in came Gilius into the engage again. Ruin had come through. Aaron tries his best to save Woolite, but Woolite ends up dying, and from there, Giants once again have reaffirmed some sense of control. They are still behind in the gold lead, but you look at the lead that they have.
War ahead at 10 minutes stress.
Oh, the stat is real.
Is it going to be real, though? Because they have to win the game now. Every time they're ahead at 10 minutes, they win the game. They are substantially in the lead. 600 smackaroons in their back pocket. And they need to win this, because otherwise my stat will be proved incorrect. Although actually, that's untrue, because it is correct as a stat. It's just, it would no longer be correct.
It would no longer be 100%. Exactly. It would not be a never. It would be a...
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Sometimes.
And I feel that that's the epitome of War there as a team, you know?
It's unpredictable.
Are they going to win a team fight? Sometimes. Maybe. Maybe they'll have an okay early game. Maybe they'll be able to win it out late. But I can tell you for certain that Giants are going to take their second Rift Herald of the series. And that should be able to help them secure first Tower blood.
Yeah, it's interesting that Giants actually swap out of this situation here. Now with the Rift Herald, that's going to accelerate their push onto the top side. Is it going to be enough to secure first turret? I don't even think it is. Because look how quickly this is dying now for Wind and Rain on the bottom side.
Yeah, a tornado seems to be better than a giant to take down a tower as Wind and Rain get first tower.
Well, yeah, exactly. Nice. I see it. I was going to clarify. I was like, you missed a great joke, and it turns out, like Drax, it went right over my head. I thought I had that. just like Giants thought they had tower first blood, but they didn't. They're looking for a second tower, though.
They do have the push advantage and the kill onto Aren as well. The shockwave comes out. This Rift Herald is going to help them maybe get a second turret out of this push, and that will bring them back ahead in the gold. They lose the Dragon. Mountain Drake traded for a tower in the top lane and a gold lead for Giants.
And this all came from the fact that Giants swapped out of their own winning matchup in the bottom lane, which I assume they thought they could actually get tower first blood quickly because of it. They get the Rift Herald, but Rift Herald is a tempo sink. If you're ahead and you got a Rift Herald, it takes time to do it. But look, this is the second half of this phase where Aren steps under the tower. Don't think he really anticipates jizuke being here. Pretty much a max range ball into Shockwave to try and keep him under tower.
Because without the Shockwave, he's put down the Spirit's Refuge. The only real damage source there is minitroupax.
Yeah. And
you're stopping all of his auto attacks. So unless he decides to stop and bullet time you, you're probably in an okay situation.
But look at how it now translates. All of that vision on the top side won't be the most useful out of Giants because there isn't too much topside still for them to get. But look, it allows them to control the mid lane around mid tower and also gives them full knowledge now if they go towards the bottom side and play on bottom side, how many members of Wind and Rain are not near them.
That's something Giants have done so well throughout the split and throughout the series. We are seeing first items completed here. minitroupax has gone towards Duskblade first. Lethality on Miss Fortune, we talked about it. That Duskblade is a big power spike for Mini.
Yeah, likely to end up going Ghostblade as well. And look, I want to see Giants now play around the bottom side, around this Shen. Because if the only teleport user and the Shen are the same person, then suddenly you just attack that. You tag the Shen, you push him back under tower, nobody can help him fast enough, and you end up taking more towers. You take more off the map from Wind and Rain than they can actually compensate for.
Giants looking to accelerate, as we say. They want to be able to get this first set of towers down so they can continue to develop this gold lead. The later on into the game we get, the harder it becomes for them. Ruin chunked out with the unleashed power. Dan's on his way as well. Ruin has the flash, but Larssen flashes in. The Stand United through the shockwave keeps him alive. Another kill for War. Aren maybe looking for the flash play.
Take a look at the minimap for me, Medic. I mean, you got a spoiler by the fact that it got announced. Bot lane, you're making a...
Oh!
Whoa! Okay, that's fine. You actually compensate for it. Giants made a play on bottom side and then tried to make a play on top side as well when they didn't have full vision. Now, that's a little bit of a no-no when you try and make two plays on the same time. Wind and Rain will get a tower from it. They lose the mid tower in response. They lose the bot tower. I believe they may even lose bot in a tower as well. So it does go significantly in Giants' favor despite trying to make multiple plays.
Yeah, this is really bad for War. They get one tower, they defended a kill, but they're going to lose, as you say,
no way they're getting mid. No way they're getting mid in
two
as well.
towers in bot lane,
That's
a
4.
tower at least in mid, maybe 2 as you say, because there's no one here to defend it. They get one tower, they lose 4. Giants once again able to take objective after objective, and it's actually indicative of their play throughout the split. On average, they take 8 towers for every 1 they lose.
I want to say, like, Ruin, why are you going aggressive like this? Why are you spoiling the time? But I can't because look at how successful it ends up being for Giants. I want to chastise. I want to be like, no, you don't do that in a regular game, but it's fine because they get 4 towers. There's literally no way the Giants come out of that in any bad situation.
I agree with the fact that it worked out well for Giants, but I think you have to start looking at teams in Challenger Series playoffs as future LCS contenders.
Okay.
And if they did that against Mysterious Monkeys or against NIP, there is a high possibility they would have been punished more.
To some extent. I agree with you to some extent. I agree NIP and Mysterious Monkeys have shown competency on catching enemy mistakes. I mean, NIP have wins against like unicorns in games, like that kind of thing, so there is a competitive advantage. But I think the fact that Giants just were set up to push those towers and Wind and Rain were heavily committed to the top side is what really actually ends up punishing Wind and Rain. Is they weren't prepared to lose 2 towers in the bottom lane. They weren't anticipating they were going to either. And when they got the catch, they thought, okay, we can actually take this in the middle lane. Let's go closer. Let's try and investigate this as a possibility. And they didn't all go as a unit. Giants end up taking so much more.
60 minutes in, Giants now have a 3,000 gold lead, and the game begins to look a lot like game 1 for Wind and Rain.
Don't push up, Woolite.
Gilius is on his way. The exhaust comes down. Woolite tries to flash. There's the Monsoon. Gilius says, let's bounce back. Woolite, I'm going to bring you into the rest of my team. But there's no one there as the teleport comes in from Armin. Ruin there. The bullet timer opens up. The Cataclysm as well as Hell in the Cell. As Dan and Armin are locked in. Armin gets stunned up. minitroupax gets a kill. That's 3 for him. A triple for MF.
Don't forget, King of the Ring 1998, doesn't matter at this point. Giants, they're the ones that are completely taking over this game. I mean, they're going to push through towards the inhibitor tower now. Like, this last 3 minutes of play out of Giants has been so crushingly strong. The Wind and Rain, oh, they get a kill, but they haven't really been able to deal with it fully.
Oh, Larssen gets melted at
dead.
minitroupax. That's his 4th kill of this extended fight. Now look for the inhibitor tower as well. This is just great play from Giants.
Well, the one thing Lethality will deal with very swiftly is any low resistance enemies. And so Gilius goes in, is able to absorb at least some of the time from Woolite here, gets the ultimate back, and it looks at this point like Wind and Rain say, okay, we can go, we can try and take this fight, but look, in comes jizuke for the rest of the fight from the side. Damage from minitroupax completely untouched outside of the Cataclysm as the rest of the Giants run through here, and there's no real way for Wind and Rain to take that fight.
And coming back to a point we said right at the start of the game, double up is an incredible skill. Mini actually got a double kill.
Double
off a double
kill off the double up.
Exactly, and now he's got both those lethality items completed, looking towards either a rapid fire cannon or a static shiv, assuming it's going to be rapid fire cannon. Could be a static shiv. The extra range can help on MF. We'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, jizuke has looked dominant in lane and out of it. His shockwaves have been on point. He's got himself almost a Leandry's completed alongside his Morello Nomica.
Coming into this, we said, okay, we want to see Wind and Rain draft a winning lane. We want to see something that they can actually contend with, and they have the Syndra. We're like, okay, maybe that's enough. Maybe they can play this lane matchup out, but unfortunately, Larssen has not had a whole lot of time in mid lane on his own. There's always been a Gilius jumping in. minitroupax has been sat in his lane for a very long time in this game, and it just means that Wind and Rain haven't been able to utilize any of the leads that they were trying to accrue anyway. And now we're into a skirmish phase where Woolite needs more time. He's only got the Blade of the Ruined King. Doesn't have anything on top of it. Looking for that Guinsoo's Rage Blade after, but he's a long way away from that. And compare the fact that there's a lethality user with 2 completed items, nearly a third, 5 kills on the board. That Syndra, the Kog'maw, not going to last very long at all.
And Giants can go for a relatively quick Baron here as well if they want to. minitroupax has the damage to work his way through it. It's a minute away. They do get themselves an Ocean Drake as well. There was a worry coming into this series, Stress, that Giants would pull a Schalke, so to speak. They would come in, they'd be perhaps slightly overconfident after having a dominant split and get taken down by the underdogs, by War, by the Misfits Academy of the split.
Yeah.
Giants here have shown us that they don't have the nerves on the stage that perhaps Schalke did. They are willing just to play their composition and play around their power spikes, and have looked very impressive doing it.
And it was interesting, the similarities of the Giants lineup compared to that Schalke lineup that ended up crumbling. I mean, this is the first time minitroupax has been on our stage here in the EU LCS. Certainly not the first time he's played in a competitive environment like this, but new to the stage, couple of jitters, you got a veteran jungler, and I was like, ooh, maybe this is the same kind of happenings. But no, minitroupax has looked in its element. Gilius has looked on form as well. The rest, like jizuke's looked great. Everybody on Giants is performing up to what we had seen from them in the regular split, and that is a great sign as they head closer and closer to the promotion tournament. Of course, this is a best of 5. This is only game 2, so anything can happen, but Gilius goes in.
Dan went aggressive and jizuke just chases him down. Owen has to use the Stand United. Tiki's going to join the fight as well. Dan with the smite, Owen with the Stand United, but minitroupax says, thank you very much. I'll add a 6th kill to my scoreboard. jizuke gets 1 for himself as well. And Gilius will not jump in, but that has to spell a Baron bait or a Baron take here for Giants.
Yeah, with Dan not available, Aaron not available. We have seen this happen in the last game time and time again. I feel like it's deja vu here. The top 2 dead for Wind and Rain, and Giants go, okay, well, let's just start the Baron.
They are 8,000 or 7,000 gold in the lead. They're going to start Baron around at the 20-minute mark once again. Woolite trying to scout out
You
the
don't
pushes.
want to go close.
AOD there as well. I think Woolite wants a little bit of this action. minitroupax turns it back around. jizuke on a killing spree. Giants looking unstoppable, and the Baron will fall for them as well.
And no real threat. Larssen tries to get in for the steal. Woolite just walking closer and closer to the edge, and all of a sudden, Out comes 2 autos, a double up, and a Q from Orianna. There's a heal and a shield in the middle of there trying to keep him alive, but Woolite ends up dying. And this is how it all started. Look, jizuke pulls back Dan. Gilius comes in. Stand United used by Aaron to just desperately try and get Dan out of there. He tried to jump, try and get any kind of distance, and walks right into a fed Miss Fortune. That is not what you want. Aaron survives only just because of the Twilight Shroud, denying the autos that come through. And as we fast forward very, very quickly to a bit of a devastating mistake out of Woolite, trying to get in there. Oop, that's a lot of damage. Double up even catches AOD, takes half of his health away. And we're back to another fight.
Bullet time across the wall. minitroupax just padding his KDA more than anything this game. 7-0-3. He's definitely the AD carry we've seen throughout the split.
So, what's your Diamond 5 Braum support build? Because we got a pretty good one coming through here, looking for Knight's Vow as the next thing.
Yeah, I agree with this build.
You agree with it?
I think if it was under a bit more threat from the Syndra, I would look perhaps toward the Locket of the Iron Slanner as well.
That'd be a good item.
Wind and Rain are just not in the position where they actually threaten. We'll see once again, they just have to back away as Giants push in with the Baron buff. That will be their first inhibitor of the game. 22 minutes in, and Wind and Rain are staring down the barrel of a gun.
And it's so difficult for Wind and Rain because the only armor items really on them is Aaron's Knight's Vow, and even that isn't doing a whole lot. The lethality is cutting through the very small amount of resistances and the rest of Wind and Rain have, and they have to deal still with an Orianna, with a Jarvan that want to go in, and minitroupax still hasn't died. Look at all of this, how comfortable the damage going down onto the inhibitors is. The second one of the game goes down, and there's a big wave pushing towards the top side for Giants as well. This is critical damage done to the base.
And rewind the game all the way back to minute 3. Dan got first blood in the top lane on Arin, managed to take down Ruin, and we thought perhaps this is Wind and Rain being able to play towards pushing lanes, advantageous lanes. But Gilius was able to react. He put a lot of time and effort into mid. minitroupax was able to outfarm Woolite in the bottom lane, and Giants said, okay, we don't care about top. Ruin is not on a carry this game. Instead, we'll let our carries in the other roles play to their full potential. Yeah,
they were saying like Ruin, okay, he's gonna probably get a little bit camped here, but he's gonna be a Jarvan. All he's gonna do is EQ combo in, hit Stone Plate, Cataclysm people, everybody is dead, okay, because minitroupax cleared up. Like, minitroupax hasn't even gone the, the older Miss Fortune builds where he goes Black Cleaver to try and shred armor. He's just like, nobody has any armor, I'm just gonna kill him.
Doesn't even need level 2 boots. No, like, he's sitting on boots of speed.
He's like, my passive is the only thing I need.
I will strut my way across this entire map. Strutting perhaps all the way to the promotion series as well. Giants looking like they're on their way back to at least a challenge for the LCS, if not even a spot there. This will be the third inhibitor tower of the game. Giants giving up 4 times as many kills in the last game, but it's still a minuscule amount compared to the amount of kills that they have got. Arin pushed back by minitroupax, Ruin with the flank. War once again have to concede an inhibitor.
Well, unless anybody else from Giants dies, the jungle, mid, and both bot lane players have still got a perfect KDA. 0 deaths on any of them. Only Ruin has died in this series so far. And as Giants are winding this up, 3 inhibitors down, sub 25 minutes. Aaron tries to fight.
Shockwave onto the knockback. The Cataclysm. Look at that!
Triple kill.
Exactly what you want to see. minitroupax does get the quadra kill as well. Are they going for the penta? Oh, it doesn't! Gilius, you scumbag! Oh, I thought minitroupax had it. They're going to get the Nexus anyway. I'm pretty sure Giants will be happy with that. They'll go 2-0 up in this series.
And again, Gilius survived due to his passive on the fountain.
minitroupax looks.
He saw
could have had a penta. Could have had a penta on the LCS stage, but instead Gilius stole it away from me. Years of experience from Gilius there. He knew the exact moment he wanted to strike to crush the dreams of his AD carry.
A head shake comes through from jizuke. minitroupax not getting a pentakill at the end of it, but a very convincing game coming through from Giants. 10-0-4 on that Miss Fortune. And the draft adaptation, Miss Fortune last pick, into seeing basically a squishy comp is what we were talking about all the way back at the beginning of this week of LCS. Lethality is so strong against these lower resistance front lines and with a ranged support. Very squishy mid lane and AD carry as you'd expect, and then a Shen who was getting camped in the top, camped 4 in the top side, sure can do a little bit, but by the time minitroupax has 3-4 kills in this game, suddenly Shen doesn't seem so strong either.
And once again, we see Gilius on the Zac being able to help out his mid lane, keep jizuke in it. jizuke's having superb performances into Larssen, who's looked underwhelming, I think, to be honest. Like, not the Larssen we expected to see, not that mechanical god that we all saw in the UK scene a few years ago. And even in Challenger Series, he was a player that could be counted on to win his lane.
I think the difficulty for Wind and Rain is whatever we were expecting out of Wind and Rain, the dominant team we expected out of Giants is showing up. And that is a difficult beast to deal with, whoever you are in the Challenger Series, at least.
They're just so persistent as well. They take an advantage, and I think the epitome of Giants play is that 1 tower for 4 tower trade we saw in the middle of that game. It was about the 13-minute mark or so. They lose top tower, but they managed to take 2 towers in mid, 2 towers in bot. Even off the Herald, they got 2 towers in the top lane, and it just breaks the economy of any team you're playing against, because you then have a 5 or a 6,000 gold lead purely off objectives.
I know somebody's going to be like, how come the casters didn't talk about this? Well, this was such a crushing game that I only just looked over at Jarvan's item build. Black Cleaver, Gargoyle Stoneplate, Titanic, or, you know, Tiamat, needlessly large rod.
I think he got that after he died at the end.
Oh, okay,
I believe, because I remember glancing at it being like, that's pretty standard. I don't think he had Lindy's.
I don't think he had it before that.
But we will mention it now so that no one can like tweet at us and be like, guys, you missed this, in case it didn't happen.
He just wanted extra damage on the flag. Magic damage, scaling, doesn't matter. But I mean, it's hard to emphasize at almost all points how good Giants have looked in this. There's been, again, a handful of mistakes, maybe even more mistakes in Game 2 out of Ruin than we saw in Game 1, but there's been no further way for Wind and Rain to actually punish Giants. They've just been outplayed, outclassed. And
I think that's what a lot of people expected to see coming into this series as well. A lot of people predicting a 3-0, saying that Giants are just too strong. Let's have another look at this final fight that really led to Giants winning it out, because they, with that bullet time, with the Cataclysm, and with the Let's Bounce, just comboed superbly.
Yeah, it was such a swift fight here. You know, Cataclysm comes through, there's the first few kills of it, and suddenly the fight is already won in favor of Giants. Doesn't even matter that Ruin dies here. You can see Gilius, remember he still has his passive, he goes onto the fountain. He knows what's coming. He just stole the Penta, he knows what's coming, he's about to jump onto the fountain. But, I mean, it persists the fact that no member of Giants other than Ruin has died in this series yet across 2 games.
And I think you have to give credit to Gilius as well. A lot of the questions around him were, would he be able to live up to the Gilius that we used to see in LCS, a very strong tank utility jungler? Would he be able to direct this team of a lot of novices at the sort of higher level of play? And he's been able to do that really well, and we'll have to see if he's able to do that in the next game as well, because Wind and Rain do have their backs against the wall and need a win in Game 3. We'll see if they can do that after the break.
We're going to pick up first blood again.
Once again, Ruin may have overextended slightly here, flashes away, but the knockup comes down, and Dan and Armin will get first blood in the top lane.
Kill this guy. Stacks? Yeah, what the fuck is going on?
They see me now.
Oh, I melted him! Okay,
Good job, Min.
You don't want to go close.
AOD there as well. I think Woolite wants a little bit of action. Minitroupax turns around onto the knockback. The Cataclysm, look at that!
Triple kill.
Exactly what you want to see if you're Minitroupax. They'll go 2-0 up in this series.